Welcome to the Jewish Pro-Life Show. I'm Cecily Routman, founder of the Jewish Pro-Life Foundation, where we are making the original pro-life religion pro-life again. We do this by offering much-needed pro-life education to the Jewish community, Jewish-friendly pregnancy care and adoption referrals, and healing after abortion. And we do it while offering a Jewish pro-life voice in the public square. So thank everyone for being here today. I have some interesting things to share with you this morning, and then we'll have open discussion. And please feel free to participate in the discussion because you are the ones that makes this show interesting and possible. First thing I want to do is show some highlights from the March for Life 2024 that happened in Washington, D.C. recently. I have some pictures of some of the best signs that people carried there, and then two very short videos. And I will put the links to those videos in the show notes. And then the next thing I'm going to be doing is sharing a short clip from the Joe Rogan Experience podcast with his guest Stephen Meyer, who's a scientist at the Discovery Institute, where they have a God-centered approach to science research. It's very interesting. They got so far into the discussion and then kind of got lost, so I'm going to pick up the discussion where they ended it. Lastly, I have an opinion piece from Commentary Magazine, and I thought it was very interesting, and then a Twitter post that I posted in response to that article. Hopefully that will initiate some interesting discussion. So let me start with the highlights from the March for Life. I found a website that had 42 of the most interesting signs. I picked just a few of them that I really liked. So this is the first of a few of the pictures that I want to share with you today. This young lady says, "Stop abortion pills, 4 times more dangerous, 10 times more deadly than surgical abortion." And one of the signifying characteristics of all of these pictures is that everybody is so young. And this is the pro-life generation, and they are going to stop legal abortion in their lifetime. God bless them. Then this one, "I will not stay silent so that you can stay comfortable." And then in the background, "My mom chose life 20 years ago. Everyone deserves a birthday." So she had that baby 1/21/2004, and now, of course, it was 1/19/2024. "Give justice to the weak and the fatherless, maintain the right, and afflicted on the destitute." And this woman says, "I used to be a clump of cells, but then I grew up." I could not believe this. This person is so smart. "Would it bother us more if they used guns?" It has a picture of a pistol there, and in the background it has all the abortion instruments of death. This one, smart young man, "Americans are born to be free if only they were free to be born." He has a picture there of the flag. That's a great sign. "They told me I couldn't be a successful teen mom, so I'm proving them wrong." That's great. "Their rights don't end where your comfort begins." That's a great picture there of the Washington Monument behind this young lady. I love this one. "Can't defeat us." DEFETUS. So clever. Very clever. In snowy Washington, D.C., "Life is not disposable." It's got a picture of an unborn baby, and it's connected up like the umbilical cord to the eye in life. Very nice. A group picture. They carried pictures this year that said, "Make more babies." And there's "Thou shalt not kill, let their hearts beat." Very nice. All smiling young faces. Oh, this one's very clever too. "Can we at least protect this border?" It's got a bubble with that text in there, and the bubble's going to this unborn baby. So that's kind of cute. And then "Let their hearts beat. Abortion ends a story that is God's to write." I think that's a lovely picture. "What about my choice?" This is the only older person I've seen on all these pictures. "What about my choice?" And a little young baby there. Oh, this one, very clever. "Have the spine to defend humankind." It's a little unborn baby saying that. Very good. This woman is so cute. This Barbie is pro-life. She has those funky glasses on with hearts, and it says, "Women's rights begin in the womb." and then Choose Life, this young man, and then a group of them. Life is a gift. And now I'm going to show two short YouTube videos. One is from Students for Life at the march, and the other is from a broadcaster interviewing a couple ladies that were there because they had abortions in the past and regretted it. And I will put the links to these in the show notes.
Congress must restore the right that was taken away in Roe v. Wade and protect Roe v. Wade. Well, already more than a dozen states are enforcing extreme abortion bans. Make no mistake about it. If Congress passes a national ban, I will veto it.
This issue of abortion, we cannot abandon it, okay? And I know that there are some Republicans who, as far as they're concerned, they want to throw up the white flag and say, okay, we're done with this. We're done fighting against this. It's not popular. I mean, if we get to the point where we say, okay, you know what, they're just slaughtering infants by the thousands, and we're not going to talk about it anymore because we're afraid they're going to vote against us. If we get to that point, then there's nothing left to fight for.
Each year, we gather in Washington, D.C. to remember the millions of innocent lives lost to the violence of abortion. Each year, we reunite to remember our mission to abolish abortion within our lifetime. But this year, we are taking things to the next level, pledging our lives to protect preborn lives. What will you pledge to do after we march? Let's go find out.
I'm here at the March for Life in Washington, D.C. to march for the unborn. I pledge after the march to stand for life on social media and to use my presence on social media to defend life.
Hey everyone, I'm Karina. I'm at the March for Life and I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today, after I march, I will be advocating for Standing With You, Students for Life's pro-life pregnancy resource organization, around my school and on all my social media platforms.
Hey guys, we're from LU.
My name is Chloe and I am a student spokesperson for Students for Life, and this year I commit to using all the resources on Students for Life HQ to change campus policy and to support pregnant and parenting mothers. We love babies, how about you? I'm Nave, and after we march, I pledge to work with Students for Life Action to mobilize as many pro-life voters as possible to vote pro-life first.
After the march, I pledge to adopt. After the march, I pledge to continue supporting pro-life by working in the foster care system.
Pro-women, pro-life, pro-women, pro-life.
I'm Caitlin, and today, after we march, I am pledging to go all in to get as many pro-lifers out to vote as possible. So I will be going on as many Students for Life action deployments as I can to make sure that America votes pro-life first.
My name is Lydia, and after I march, I am going to go back into my community and start an abortion-free cities campaign so I can impact women and save lives where I live.
All right, the After We March pledges are in. Now the question is, what are you going to do this year to help save the babies? Start your pro-life passion today at prolifegen.org.
And here's the next one.
Hi guys, so I'm talking with, remind me of your names.
Mary.
Shanna.
So tell me why it was so important that y'all are here at the 51st March for Life. This is an issue that's deeply personal to each of you.
Yes, I had an abortion when I was 18, and at this point I really am marching on behalf of my child that was not born. And I want women to know And I want others to know that there were a lot of ramifications to me after I had the abortion. I thought I was taking care of a short-term problem, but really, it was really not as positive as what I was led to believe. It was really a very negative experience. And that is the rest of the story that sometimes is not told. So it's important for me to be here today, for others to know that abortion is not a good thing. And I did kill my son, and I'm sorry. I regret that. And I want other people to know that for the inconvenience or the relatively short time of pregnancy, you can give your child life. And there are a variety of ways of taking care of that child. If you cannot, there are others that can. So I'm hoping you have hope that they're for healing if you've had abortion. And if you're considering abortion, I'd like for you to reconsider that and call your local pregnancy help center. Thank you.
And Shanna, you have had a similar experience in your life. Talk a little bit about why it's important to continue to be vocal, right, and outspoken, and why it's important for you personally to be here.
So I do feel like it is such a time like this. You know, Roe v. Wade was overturned, but there's so much more work to do. You know, I can tell you, this is my first march to be here. I just got healed by abortion not even 2 years ago. And so then my testimony has been heard in some of these cases. And, you know, it's just very important to still honor my child, Benjamin and Grace. And I was able to go through a class. Won't name the name, but through the class, I was able to do a memorial service, and that's when the healing began. And I also want to let them know that there are, you know, I was a Christian when this happened, and I really felt like God, didn't love me, and I got forgiven, I got set free, and I want other women and men to get set free, because my abortion, the man said he would kill himself if I had the child. So that lived with me, and then I had another one as well. And so I just it's time to speak out, and I know that the Lord's calling us at this time to do that. So,
you know, something that we hear so often is that this is a women's rights issue. We need to not bother women and let women make the decision they want to make between them and their doctor. That's the line that we hear so often. And for somebody like you, it's so close. I'm still very raw emotions that you're feeling in the aftermath of having an abortion. What do you say to people who say that being pro-life is not protecting women? Because it seems to me that it is protecting women by protecting the unborn as well.
It is, and another thing I can't emphasize enough is that the physical and mental part of that. And I've suffered with mental emotions, physical, you know, and I remember it was 6 weeks, and I laid on that table, and I can tell you right now, I didn't know at the time, but I felt my baby heartbeat. I felt what it felt like. The emotional trauma was there because it was already connected to me. So I would just encourage people to choose life, and that it will affect you at some point in your life, physically and mentally. And I just pray for everyone to just be able to reach out to a pregnancy center, talk to somebody like myself or other people that have been hurt by abortion.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for being here.
Next is this clip from this podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, with Stephen C. Meyer.
1925 is the famous Scopes trial with Clarence Darrow. The year or two before that, I can't remember the exact year, there's the famous Leopold and Loeb case in Chicago. Two young college students commit a horrific murder. They're taking philosophy courses from a professor who's an advocate or a proponent of Nietzschean, the Nietzschean Übermensch, you know, the idea of the overman, and that saying that, you know, that we need to, that the really enlightened person extricates themselves from bourgeois morality and chooses their own morality. And so these two young college students end up killing a 12-year-old boy for the thrill of it, was the justification. They're convicted, they're tried, they're convicted, they're awaiting sentencing, and the ACLU sends out Clarence Darrow to argue for leniency, for clemency, or for leniency in the case, and he makes the first diminished responsibility plea in American jurisprudence history. He says, was Dickie Loeb to blame because of the infinite forces that were at work in him through the evolutionary millions of years before. And so he appeals to evolutionary determinism to say that these two young guys were not responsible for what they had done, and that basically our genes, our environment, and the evolutionary process that programmed these inclinations into these young men is the real culprit, is what was responsible. And so this is the first time we get the diminished responsibility plea in our legal system. There was a little cartoon in the Wall Street Journal a few years ago where there's this hapless guy standing before the judge, and he says, "Not guilty by reason of millions of years of evolutionary selection for aggressive behavior, Your Honor." So that's what I reject. I'm a critic of that form of determinism. I don't deny that there are factors that influence behavior or our thoughts or influences, but ultimately I want the mind over matter approach. I want to say let's we are responsible ultimately for what we think and what we do with those thoughts.
And you think that, I mean, if I'm paraphrasing, but the thought process at our best is what the creator's looking for.
Right.
This is the idea that what we all gravitate towards, what we all inherently recognize as being good, regardless of culture, regardless of geopolitical boundaries and all the various different things that make us unique all across the globe. We all know what's good. Family, love, community, that all these things are somehow or another in us.
Exactly. The great Christian apologist C.S. Lewis argued that there was a universally understood morality that he called the Tao, or the Tao. We all know it's wrong to kick old ladies in the shins for pleasure. You can do these, kind of case studies in ethical philosophy, but there might be a case where you need to kill someone in order for a higher good, but you can easily construct things that reveal these deep moral intuitions we have. It's not okay to kick old ladies in the shins for pleasure. That's wrong. And that's wrong in a Christian culture. It's wrong in an Asian culture. That in a pre-Christian Asian culture, it's wrong in a, it doesn't matter. We all have that awareness of sort of objective moral principles. And I think the way you put it was beautiful. I think that the Creator wants us to live in accord with those things we know to be the good.
But these objective moral principles, they do vary with the environment and the amount of resources and stress and the dangers. Like for instance, I think it's Pinker's work where he talks about hunter-gatherer tribes that relatively frequently kill the older women because they just can't keep up anymore and they're nomadic and they get in the way, and so they try to catch them when they're not looking.
It's a great example because it actually illustrates the deeper universality of the deeper moral principles.
Right.
Even cultures that were involved in child sacrifice, they had belief systems that suggested that if they sacrificed the children, then the crops would come in and it would benefit the tribe as a whole.
Right.
So the underlying value was the preservation of life, even though they had a moral. There's a difference between a moral judgment and a moral principle. They made a moral judgment that this is what was necessary to affirm the underlying moral principle. Now, I would argue they had a false worldview that suggested that this was necessary, but because they believed that idea about the need to sacrifice children to the gods, they made a moral judgment that differed from one that I would make or you would make, but they did in the process actually affirm a deeper moral principle, that is the value of human life.
Right, but the question is, where did that idea even come from, to sacrifice a child?
Well, that came from their mythological, religious belief.
Where did that come from?
I think the more important question is, where did the underlying moral principle come from, and why is that universal, and on what basis can we justify it as a universal ought rather than just a statement of fact?
But does it exist in a person who's sacrificing a child? That universal moral principle seems to have been completely abandoned. If you're sacrificing a child for some reason that you cannot prove, that it's somehow or another going to influence something according to whatever your beliefs are that's going to make the crops come back.
Oh, I agree with you. I think something very deep and profound has to be overwritten, but I think that is the role that I say a religious belief system can play.
Not in that situation. Their religious belief system allowed them to do it, and in fact, probably encouraged them.
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. That religious belief system overrode the intuition that they would normally have based on the underlying moral principle.
Why do they have that religious belief system? If God is going to present religious beliefs, if God is going to somehow or another come down and give wisdom to men, why do some have this very fucked up version of it?
Yeah, I can't answer that. I mean, there's a multiplicity of systems of belief.
Okay, so you can imagine when I listen to this brainiac guy gets to the crux of the matter and he says, I can't answer that. And I said, I can answer that. A person's mind, if it's left to its own devices, right, without the modifying grace of either intense Torah study or a mystical experience where a God consciousness replaces a person's own psychology, without either of these two things happening, a person's mind is going to take control of that person's soul. And because we have wily minds, our minds can take us anywhere. I was disappointed that they didn't go on to a current situation, of course, because we have almost nearly global child sacrifice going on right now. There are some countries that have rejected it, and that's a great thing. But certainly here and in Israel, which I tend to focus on the most, it's part of our culture. And the most intelligent people whose minds are the most active and creative have somehow made this thing that is so heinous and immoral virtuous. So I was disappointed but not surprised that he couldn't answer that question. I think he lacks just the understanding of the real need for people to have a connection with God and allow that to be dynamic and motivating force in our lives today. And I can speak for myself personally. Before I had that experience, I was not a happy person, and I did not understand how to, as that woman in the video said, how to be set free. And I was set free when I was able to set aside my own belief systems and the faith I had in my own mind and ask God to inform my thoughts and words and deeds. Today I'm pretty peaceful. I was asked recently by a young gentleman I know about my life and my work, and he said he really gives me a lot of credit for fighting for what I believe in. And I said, no, you don't understand. I'm not fighting for what I believe in. I'm simply presenting the material as the good Lord asked me to do that. But it's not my fight, because, of course, I'm just little old Cecily, and I will not be able to sustain the fight. But I can share and provide some education through the Jewish Pro-Life Foundation and allow that information to open a little bit of a trickle of curiosity in people whose minds are closed shut to a spiritual experience and a God consciousness. And then I have all the belief in the world that the Almighty can do the impossible. I just had a lot of strong feelings about that video. The Discovery Institute, by the way, does really good work. They look at science through the divine creator and intelligent design. It's really quite interesting what they do. The last thing I want to share is this article from Commentary. It's extremely long, and I'm not going to go through most of it, just a paragraph or two. They're Coming After Us, by the editor there, John Podhoretz. I have never felt like this before. I have lost count of the number of times the phrase, I have never felt like this before, has been spoken in my ear, texted to me, or sent to me in an email in the 3 months since the Hamas attack on October 7, 2023. When I talked with Israelis on a trip in November, the phrase described a gut emotion few under the age of 50 said they had ever experienced. The sense that they were personally vulnerable to outside attack in a manner more like an extended military invasion than a terrorist blow. They had lived through years of ineffectual rocket fire that was all but magically extinguished by the Iron Dome and Arrow anti-missile systems. Those interceptions had provided a feeling of near divine protection. No longer. Israelis feel raw now, and such vulnerability is never momentary or transitory. One might say the opposite. Once it seizes you, it might take years before you wake up one morning and notice suddenly it's no longer there. And then he goes on to talk about an experience he had in Central Park when Rudy Giuliani cleaned up the city and he all of a sudden didn't feel targeted. He goes on to talk about a lot of things that have happened in Israel. And then I'll just read this. I can't believe this is happening. For those deeply bound up with the condition of the Jewish state, Zionists whose commitment to the cause has made them hyper-aware of the risks and opportunities in Eretz Israel, and those whose Israeli family members give them a personal stake in it, October 7 was also a trauma, though perhaps not entirely unprecedented. To feel the individual instability I just described really requires being an Israeli in Israel right now. For the rest of us, the combination of terror, war, hostages, and slaughter evoked feelings not experienced in Kol Israel, the worldwide Jewish community since the 1970s. I will put this link to this article in the show notes. When I read it, I immediately thought, because of the work that we do, about the disconnect between Jews who feel that they have a target on their back now and are in a very real way now facing possible death, to, of course, the baby in the womb. And I couldn't help but post this on Twitter on the commentary article there. And I just said, speaking as a baby in the womb, to our Jewish, abortion is a Jewish value and a religious right majority. We've been feeling like this for good reason for a very long time. That's what I wrote. I couldn't help myself. It just always fascinates me that there's this denial about the plight of the baby in the womb when it comes to, well, not only the majority Jewish opinion that it's okay to go in there and do what's happening in Israel to Jewish citizens right now. There's a disconnect there. They don't seem to be able to sense the reality of the experience of the baby in the womb as similar to what they're experiencing. And I know there are a lot of Jewish people who really get resentful and upset when you even draw attention to it. And I just have to share with you that in our work so far with a digital marketing company in Israel who's building our website, our first hurdle is to actually be able to communicate this reality to our creative team, who doesn't seem to be able to understand it either, which convinces me more than ever that it needs to be done, that we really need to bring the message there. So those are some of the ideas that I wanted to present today, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch and listen. And now we can open this up for discussion. So I just ask again that you stay muted unless you're speaking. And if you want to speak, you can raise your digital hand or raise your real hand. And I'm going to pass now. And if you want to share, just let me know. Yes. Hi, Ross. Thank you so much.
Hello. Good morning, everybody. Let's start with a March for Life. I missed going to Washington this year because I'm all the way out in Wyoming. But we had a March for Life here, or it was called a March for Life. It was actually supposed to be a march on January 13th. We started at a Catholic church here in town, but it was 29 below zero that morning, okay? It's warmed up to 30 above, but we had probably about 70 or 80 people. We had the Secretary of State, who's become a good friend of mine, who's been a big advocate for pro-life over the years. And we signed up some more people. It might sound like good news. We only have one abortion business in Wyoming. The bad news is they're bringing people from all around Wyoming and surrounding states that are pro-life. So we've been fighting this battle for quite a while. I'm a sidewalk advocate. It's been difficult because after the holidays, after the new year, there's been an uptick in the number of women coming to this place. And we see them not only staying in there for quite a while, which means surgical abortions, but they come out with the brown bag, which is the second pill, abortion pill, and then they go home. Some of them are by themselves driving. So it's a very sad situation. We're working on our 40 Days for Life coming up. We're recruiting more sidewalk advocates. We're coordinating with True Care Women's Resource Center, which is our pregnancy resource center here in town. They've been operating for 30 years. Uh, into politics for a moment, there's been a lot of misinformation about the 2022 election, that the pro-life Republicans lost. The truth is the strong pro-life Republicans won. The wishy-washy ones were the ones that lost. So, Florida, Ohio, Texas, Georgia, all voted statewide for strong Republican pro-life people. Now, why that's important here in Casper is that the Republican committee, which I am a committee person, the leadership is wishy-washy. And I've twice asked the chair for me to be able to do a pro-life presentation about the abortion business here in Casper. He has denied me to have a voice on the agenda, which is just bizarre because I'm a committee person. I should be able to bring it up. He canceled the last meeting. He hasn't had a meeting since March of last year when he was elected. So next Monday, we have our what's called Central Committee. All the 200 committee people get together. I have sent them an email with a resolution telling them that I'm going to bring up a motion to put this on the agenda. And I gave them a copy of the resolution. Didn't stop there. We sent out 400 emails to our pro-life community, and we asked people to do two things. Number one, contact your committee people and tell them to support the motion for the agenda and to put the resolution up for a vote. And number two, show up as a guest to the meeting with your pro-life signs. So there's going to be some really interesting things coming out. They usually invite the press, which is negative to the pro-life movement. But obviously, they're going to have to cover the fact that we're going to fill the room, hopefully, with pro-life people talking to their committee people and encouraging a vote for that. We have tonight Wyoming Right to Life meeting. I am now the chapter president for my county. Natrona County is Casper and the neighborhood around. Our big dilemma now is kind of a split within our pro-life group, because we have a court case that has put a hold on our pro-life law. And the argument from the pro-abortion people is abortion is health care. There's going to be legislation to tighten the regulation on this abortion business. So, for instance, requiring that the doctors that they fly in here from probably Colorado have to have admitting privileges to the local hospital, which the good news is only 2 blocks away. The bad news is when they injure people here, they don't call 911 because they don't want a record. They either have a staff member drive the person they injured to the hospital, or as the last time, they actually had an escort, a non-medical person, drive the poor girl to the hospital. And she was bent over in the passenger seat. It's just horrible. But some of our people are very concerned that if we pass legislation, it'll indicate to the court that abortion is health care. So we're going to have that discussion tonight with the attorneys to see if the legislation would damage the court case. However, the feeling is the court case is not going to go in our favor. The judge that is handling this is pro-abortion. She has prevented certain things. It's indicated that she's going to go along with the pro-abortion people. Then it goes to our state Supreme Court, which again, we think we're going to lose the appeal there. So do we go ahead and try to regulate this place, or do we back off and see what the court's going to do? But in the meantime, we've probably had 300 babies killed so far here in Casper, and which is just horrible. And we know that these women are being injured. So I think I covered most of that. So it's been very busy here. I had no idea when I moved here that this was going to be what I would be doing. I thought I would be kind of retired. I'm also running for city council now. So I'm really busy here in Casper, but I think that was God's plan for me. I just didn't know it. So thank you.
Thank you, Ross, for all your efforts and for news from the ground in Casper. And you certainly are living out that pledge that those young gals at the march said, what are you going to do when you go home to save those babies? So, yes, thank you very much for being here. Rabbi Leiter, would you like to unmute and share?
Thank you. It's very informative here what's going on with Ross and the great work he's doing. So a lot of people are doing that type of thing that we don't hear about, and they should certainly get the type of recognition that you're trying to share here. Just a couple brief thoughts here. This week's parsha that we read ends with the war with Amalek, and Amalek is an ancient nation whom we were required to eliminate, and the reason being because they personified evil. They represented the very essence of evil, the perpetration of evil for its own sake, not committing sin or wickedness in order to attain some benefit, real or imagined, but rather just to do evil for evil's sake. And that's precisely what we are confronted with when we confront many of the movements out there that are trying to legitimize evil, including the abortion movement. It's not just a matter of, let's keep it safe, rare, and legal. They're celebrating it. And of course, that was always, a smokescreen really for the deeper evil agenda, but a more evil agenda, but that we see now. But now it's in the open. We see, the confluence of Satanism and the New Age religion and ancient paganism resurgent in the form of child sacrifice, Wicca, and all that. It seems to be all coalescing with this whole abortion, trafficking, LGBT culture, milieu, and the proponents thereof. So these people are basically advancing a war against God, a war against the intellect. Just through simple reason, one would conclude that at the very best, you have a baby that has no less of a right than anyone else. At least it would be it should raise a doubt in people's minds that what they're about to do is to commit a murder, and there's no way to resolve that question in the affirmative to allow it. So, on that basis alone, just from even a purely secular, rational point of view, that abortion should be prohibited across the board except to save the mother's life, which is, as we know, due to medical advances, really irrelevant in modern countries, generally speaking, because it's a lot safer to save the baby in other ways, let's say through C-section rather than have an abortion when the mother's life is in danger. We see that these movements are promoting evil for its own sake. They are embodying evil, and they should be recognized as such. When we recognize the nature of the enemy and that they deserve no mercy, then we will have a lot easier time in confronting them. When we're busy trying to love them and make excuses for them, we undercut our own ability to defend ourselves against the existential threat that they pose to society as a whole. And we're not even talking about any sort of military actions here. We're simply talking about identifying them in the public sphere, using ballots rather than bullets, and bulletins rather than bullets. Just to spread the word and let people know to use the legal powers that they have and the responsibilities that they've been trusted with, to vote accordingly, to campaign accordingly, to use the means of communication that we have through modern technology, without compromising, without giving any slack to these guys, just by stating the truth, unburdened by any need to genuflect to modern notions of political correctness. If we would just simply use the tools that are at our disposal without undermining ourselves, I think that we would be able to advance a lot further than we are.
Appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us. Your moral clarity is much appreciated. So thank you very much for being here and sharing with us today.
Thank you, and thank you for that great comment on the commentary article as well.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ira.
While the rabbi was on the line, I wanted to ask him if he had certain insights about what's going on in Israel and the whole pro-life movement there, if he had certain insights that we don't have. He lives in Israel, right? He was calling from Israel?
No, he's here in
No.
America.
Okay, I could. I think there are people that live there that are more equipped to deal with that in particular, but I think that we need a lot more awareness in Israel and America among the Jewish community, the religious communities, And I think that what Mr. Rotmi pointed out was itself part of the problem. It's even the people that are entrusted with doing the messaging are not clear on the message. That indicates we have a problem. The Torah tells us all the truths that we need to know. We just have to be able to properly understand it and articulate it. Rabbi Shamshon Hirsch, a leader of German Jewry who died in Germany in 1888, he stated, it's printed in Collected Writings, Volume 6, page 104, that the truth never lost due to its opposition. The only time the truth can lose beyond recall is when its advocates fail to properly speak for the truth and fight for it. And I think that's what we're seeing. And thankfully, thanks to work like which you are doing, we see a movement in the right direction. I think that it's important to have the Torah guide us every step of the way to the extent that we can understand the Torah and put it into practice, and not only in what we say, but how we say things. I think that it can open our eyes. The current events clearly, as I think you stated and implied, even just on this program, are intended to open our eyes. And I will state that the Nefesh Chaim, a disciple of the famed Vilna Gaon, writes that God deals with us in ways that we can understand what his message is to us when he sends various tribulations and difficulties our way, and that he shows us what specific sins he is calling us, he is beckoning us to rectify. And if we fail, this is something he writes in his commentary on Perkei Avos, fourth parak, the 11th mission or the 14th mission, depending how it's divided, that if we fail to read the messages, the divine messages that Hashem, that God is sending us through the various tribulations he's sending our way to awaken us, if we fail to read those messages and rectify the particular sins that he's messaging us to repent from, unfortunately the tribulations will not stop. So we have clearly an imperative to try to learn from what's happening, and there are certain lessons that we can all see. Everyone can come to their own conclusions, of course, and there can be various different things, messages, especially in any sort of communal type of tragedy. But I think that people that want to see the truth will, people that don't want to will not. And I think that the Torah, like I said, should be our guide in both not only what we believe in, but how to present it. I don't want to elaborate too much, not to take up too much time, but that's my thought. I think there's still a lot of work to be done in Israel. Things are just starting.
What about here in the United States? Do you have any ideas of how we can get the Orthodox communities they'll get the message to be more vocal in speaking out against this?
Yeah, I understand. It's an excellent question. I mean, I'm on a radio program every week where we're trying to address the primacy of morality issues, not just abortion, LGBT-assisted suicide, other issues, the drafting women.
You're doing it. You're doing
problem.
it. But how do we get through to other rabbis to do what you're doing or to speak up?
It's a great question. It's not something I can answer in 3 minutes, even if I would have all the time left this program. Part of the answer is to start small, to fight, not just to fight hard, but to fight smart, to network with people that can get our message out to the grassroots of the Orthodox Jewish community. That's one of the key things that we need. We need people that can help us technologically and in other ways to get the message of Torah truth to the grassroots of the Orthodox community, because the average Orthodox Jew, if he knows the truth and if he sees how this is truly what authentic Orthodox rabbinic leadership has always been promoting, namely that we make morality the premier value in public policy, not who's going to give us more money, even if it's legitimate, but morality. If the average Orthodox Jew would see that in writing and see it somewhat on a regular basis, and see the facts that are not being reported to them through the media that they tend to use, the average Orthodox Jew would be responsive, and we've seen evidence of that. We just need the wherewithal to get that message directly to the grassroots, and of course targeted as well to individual rabbis that would be receptive to the message and willing to stand up and say the right thing even when it goes against the grain. So basically it's a matter of getting the resources to get that message out to where it's needed to be heard. And, that's a whole discussion. If you want, I can give my number. If anyone's interested in continuing this point, you can call me directly at 771-215-8892, 771-215-8892, and we can follow up more on that. But that's an excellent question.
Rabbi, maybe we can have you back at another time.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
Thank you so much.
Moshe, do you want to share?
Everybody's always focused on the Orthodox. Yeah, I mean, more Orthodox rabbis should speak up, no doubt, but I don't think you should be able to call yourself conservative Judaism if you don't have conservative values like stopping killing babies. So I think we should go after the conservative rabbis as well. I mean, the reform is a wash. I mean, why waste your time? But definitely at least the conservative, conservadox, and the orthodox as well. And I like that picture with the girl holding the sign up that said, "They told me I'd never be a good teenage mom." It's like they encouraged her. They encouraged her. It's not like my body, my choice. They were encouraging her, steering her that one way.
Thank you. Very good. Yes, Rob. Hi. Please unmute.
Hi. I went to the March for Life. It was great. I wish I'd seen all of you folks there to march with me, but I wore my Jewish Pro-Life Foundation hat and scarf from last year, and I made sure everybody knew that what I was marching for and who I was marching.
Rob is a great fan of the Save the One.
The organization is called Save the One, if you want to look them up on the internet.
Were there any more Jews out there to this time?
I'm sure they were there, but they weren't being very prominent. I hope next year that more people will come out. You know, I think this is just my personal feeling, but I think the anti-life movement, including the pro-Hamas people, they have an agenda to intimidate us into silence. And we can't let them succeed. We just got to tell them, we just got to show them we're not going to be intimidated.
Amen. Thank you. God willing, we'll be going to the Maryland March for Life in March, and then Harrisburg in Pennsylvania and Trenton. God willing, we'll get to Washington next year.
It would be wonderful. It was, it was a pretty big march. I was afraid because Massachusetts Citizens for Life didn't send their normal buses this year, and I had a hard time finding other people from Connecticut and my own church that wanted to go. Nobody from my own church went. Last year, they sent a whole van load of people. So I was very concerned that it would be a small march, but it wasn't. It was big. It was big. I can't do a crowd count. I stood by the side of the road going up to Capitol Hill on the left, where same place that we stood last year with Save the One, or where they stood. And I watched people go by. I stayed at that point until the end of the march, so like the last people had gone by. And it took a long time.
Thank you for going. I saw the number 50,000.
I think they always underestimate it. It was a good sized march. Speakers are good. It was a good, warm feeling from everybody. I didn't see any opposition. I didn't see anybody standing by the side, no hecklers, nothing. I mean, they just weren't there. It was all positive.
Thank you for your report. Thank you for going. Does anybody else want to share? Rabbi Yosef, do you have anything you want to share?
Asher is friends with Dennis Prager. He was the one that originally ran his website. So they're still friends, so he can get you a slot on Dennis Prager's show. So I know there's a lot of Orthodox people that follow him, even though I guess he identifies as conservative. Yeah, if you get a hold of him, he could probably get you a slot on there. And that would be good for recruiting. I don't know if anybody knows, but Ross probably knows. He's running for city council. But a while ago, I went to become a precinct committeeman. And in my area, and apparently most areas, there's so many vacancies. There's no vetting. You can pretty much just volunteer, and then you'll be added as a precinct committeeman. So that's another way to get out and do something locally.
Very good. Well, wonderful suggestions. Thank you. Maybe we can do a phone call to Rabbi Asher.
Yeah, that would be good. I recommend it. And then I put together a presentation called Abortion, the Noahide Scam, and Accountability. I tend to gravitate towards the things that aggravate everybody. So I'm going to record that this week, send it to you so you can edit it down to the acceptable parts.
Okay, thank you. I'll look forward to receiving it. Very good. Thank you. We're going to have a new rabbi on our speakers list, and we're going to add his video clip to our video that we produce in defense of human life. Yes, so very good. Looking forward to it. Thank you for participating. Dave, do you want to unmute and say something?
Oh, you just caught me in a very dangerous moment. The thought that was going through my head just before you had mentioned my name was that what might help that involves a debate that involves rabbis as well as other leaders outside the Orthodox community, Orthodox rabbis. I was talking about maybe conservative rabbis, maybe even Reform rabbis, maybe even people from other faiths, and allow them to express their viewpoints with each other and challenge each other. We need more rabbis to come forward. Maybe the debate mechanism might be one way of bringing more voices out. That was the thought.
Do you think that's dangerous?
Yes, it's dangerous. You know, war is dangerous. The idea is you're doing it for the friendly purpose. It has to be introduced properly. That the goal is to try to reach kind of consensus about the subject. Maybe there is no consensus. It's an area that will never be consensus. I'm a strong believer in least common denominators. If you don't know what the right approach is in Judaism, you take the most conservative viewpoint. So in our case, is life is a conception. That's if you don't know for sure what the right answer is, default to the most conservative answer. And that's what I would hope the debate would end up, people starting to see that, yeah, we're not that sure. You know, some of this is guesswork. Some of it is like intuition, some feeling. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. I had an email exchange with a rabbi who I like very much this past week, and he shared with me some fairly conservative viewpoint about this issue from a halakhic point of view. And he mentioned that there, of course, were some opinions about this whole 40 days, that it's okay, it's not really a baby, whatever. And I had something to say about that. I think that for a lot of people, their minds are made up and they believe in what they think about these things. And they're comfortable with those thoughts, so their minds remain closed. Perhaps a forum like that, an open forum, would open them up a little bit. I'm hoping we can get past this one day and everybody will feel the presence of God. There won't be any of this confusion anymore. We'll just all know that God is real and present, and of course life is so precious. Thank you, Dave. Ira, yes, you have something else on your mind?
No, I just wanted to compliment Dave. I think that's a great idea. I went to some sort of discussion debate forum I went to years ago. Modern Orthodox Shul sponsored on the subject of conversion, and another one they had on the subject of the Tehelet string. And there were about 5 different rabbis from different, Hasidim and Modern Orthodox and Yeshivish, and there was difference of opinion, but the discussion itself opens a lot of minds. Even people that you think are stuck in their views, when they hear the level of the scholarship that seriously addresses these issues, people rethink things. And I think it's a very good idea if you can get rabbis, and some of them have big egos. I'm sure they like to talk. So
we could start with Rabbi Leiter, and we could start with Rabbi Yosef.
Yeah, I mean in the community. I mean in the larger.
Yes, I understand. All I can do is ask. And you can ask your rabbis. Maybe I'll put that out in the newsletter for people to ask their rabbis if they'd like to participate in something like that. Rosalind, would you like to unmute and share with us and introduce yourself?
Shalom, sister.
Shalom.
I'm from India, and I am very happy to have your conversation, to hear about the abortion we shouldn't have to do, because it is a gift of Hashem.
Thank you for being here. I know that in India there's a lot of sex-selective abortion still for the little girls.
Yes.
Is that still legal there, Rosalind?
No, sister, it is not legal. People do without the permission of government, and they paid for doctors to do that.
Do you have any healing programs there for women?
No, not yet.
My heart is always happy when I see people in America that are from India that have large families and lots of little girls, because I know that probably in India they wouldn't be doing that so well. Well, I really appreciate you being here. Do you know Rabbi Yosef?
Yes, I know him.
Okay. Well, you're in good company then.
Yeah. Shalom, Rabbi.
Shalom. Her daughter just got married to another rabbi.
Oh, Mazel Tov. That's great.
Thank you, sister.
Now, just tell me before you go, where do you live in India?
I live in Jammu and Kashmir.
Where is that?
It is in north side.
Well, I understand that the president of India, is that Modi?
Yes.
Yes. How does he stand on this issue?
He is supporting their education to live like a good lifestyle.
Okay. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sister.
Dave, did you want to share?
I wanted to ask Rosalind a question. Rosalind, news reports coming out of Indian sources that's very pro-Palestinian and almost to the point that they're anti-Israel. Is this just artifact of the news source, or is there a lot of this kind of feeling generally? Of course, there's always segments. There's this news source called the Hindustan Times, which seems to be very, very anti-Israel.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why it's so anti-Israel?
I don't know about it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Shalom Aleichem. Sorry to interrupt you. May I answer your question?
Go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. So myself, Maurice Peter, and I'm living in India, New Delhi, the northern part, very close to Sister Rosaline. And sir, your question about whether India is pro-Israel or anti-Israel. India actually, the party in India, we have the two major parties, the leftists and rightists, as you know, the Congress and the BJP. Currently the government is a BJP party. It's a radical Hindu party. Basically, they support their religion very strongly. So they support basically the state of Israel, and as well as they support the state of Palestine as well. They believe in two-state solution, and the Congress party also believe in the two-state solutions. And we have at least 20-25% mountains community, the Muslims, and they are anti-Israel as well. And we have the Hindu as well. We also who also support in favor of Palestinians. The people majorly who believes in against in the BJP parties, the current Hindu party. So this is the main current situation in India. So it's a mix. Thank you.
Thank you for being here and sharing that with us.
Thank you, ma'am.
Would you say that in the northern area near to Pakistan, there's more Muslims in India, and that would inform that attitude?
Yeah, we are very close to Pakistan. She's Rosaline also close to Pakistan. The northern area, it's basically India, Delhi, Pakistan, Punjab, Rajasthan, and the Jammu and Kashmir. The Jammu and Kashmir is basically the mountain area, and Rajasthan is the desert, and Delhi and Pakistan is basically the mix. Yeah. So we have the currently temperature 40-43 Fahrenheit, so it's cold. So we are very spatial justice Pakistan and the northern part of India. We are look like similar to the Arabs.
It's very interesting about the two-state solution. Many people died when Pakistan was carved out of India. It was a terrible war that was going on there.
Yeah, even my family came from Pakistan, Peshawar, in the time of partition, 1947, 48, in the time of that. So my grandfather lost one of his younger sister in Pakistan, and we don't have anything information about her, even she is alive or she's dead. So very unfortunate. My family has a very long story about their religion and persecution and struggle. It's quite surprising. Recently, I just discovered this my family roots from Syria and to Yemen. This is very strange, and this is very shocking. So you can say that I'm a half Yemenite and I'm roots and half Syrian roots, and I'm born in India.
Wow. Yeah, that's really fascinating. Well, people travel around a lot in that area of the world. May I just ask you, are there terrorist attacks coming out of Pakistan into India? You know, that's part of the problem. Speaking of Dennis Prager, he always says in terms of the two-state solution, why it's not workable, because if Israel lays down its arms, it will be decimated. And if Palestine lays down its arms, it will flourish. There's a different mindset. But I wonder in Pakistan, is there still terrorist activity going into India? I don't see the Indians so much going into Pakistan.
So currently, the situation is very under control. The current BJP government is very strong about this defense and the securities. So, you know, the Mr. Prime Minister Modi is very strong, and he's a very intelligent and brave person, I must say. So, for the especially for Indians and their country. And so we have the strong, very strong border situations right now. So it's comparison to the other left parties, Congress. We have a lot of terror attacks in that time, but I'm very happy for current situation. It's very strong. But some minor news comes up from Sister Rosalind's areas, Jammu and Kashmir. Apart from them, we don't have anything yet. Threat.
Very good. That's very good. Very good, President Modi.
Yeah.
Yes, he loves his country. That's wonderful. Hi, Ellen. It's great to see you.
It's wonderful to see you also, Cecily. Thank you very much. I'm always praying, I'm always advocating, I'm always speaking when I can, when it falls into my lap. I'm kind of the random warrior. It's kind of what I like to call myself. It pops up in random places. So I think that's my lot in life. No, I guess the only thing that I was just thinking about when everybody was talking about trying to get Orthodox on board, I definitely agree with that. I guess there's another part of me, and this is the bigger picture. I mean, really, everybody should be on board. So I never like to rule anybody out, even if it seems like a lost cause and they're so far deep in, talking about reform, this, that, and the other, you never know. So I guess that's, like I said, I like to consider myself a random warrior because you never know. You never know when that opportunity is going to be presented in the most unlikely of places that can sprout something, Hashem inspired. So I love being focused, but I think sometimes being so focused, you miss other things too. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, that divine serendipity shows up at the most whimsical moments, right? And then if your mind is in the right place, you can really do some good messaging at that time. Thank you. That's so true.
Thank you, Cecily. You look lovely as usual, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you. You too. Thanks. I'm so grateful people were here today, and we had a very nice discussion. You can visit our website, jewishprolifefoundation.org, to learn more about us, about our healing program, Tikvat Rachel. It's Teshuvah based for Jewish women and men who suffer after abortion. You can learn more about our Israel Pro-Life Education Project. We are in process. Blessings to everybody as we head into some uncertain times. In so many ways, let us keep our focus on Hashem and on the importance of life and how we can best serve Him every day. Shalom. Until next time. Thank you so much.
I'm the news that nobody expected. I was never a part of your plan. I'm the reason why life as you know it feels like it's slipping through your trembling hands. And the doctors say I'm just an option, a mistake you can make disappear. I may not have a voice, but I'm more than a choice. I'm as real as the heartbeat you hear. So don't close the book on me yet. I've still got a long way to go. Empty pages to fill, and the best part is still down the road. Oh, I am a story untold. I am God's miracle in the making, proof that all things can work for the good. I am fingers and toes, and heaven already knows the name you pick out for me already belongs to me. So don't close the book on me yet. I've still got a long way to go. Empty pages to fill, and the best part is still down the road. Oh, I am a story untold. Every life is sacred, and every life is a gift, and every life deserves a chance to live. I know you're scared, I know you're scared, I know you're scared right now. But when you hear my first cries and when you look in my eyes, you'll understand why you brought me to life. So don't close the book on me yet. I've still got a long way to go. Empty pages to fill, and the best part is still down the road. Oh, I am a story untold. May there be abundant peace from heaven and good life upon us and upon all Israel. Amen.